There's something about camping, right? Sleeping under the stars, miles from the nearest streetlight, tucked into the trees with nothing but canvas between you and whatever's out there. For some, it's peaceful. For others, it's prime nightmare fuel. And sometimes those nightmares become real. Today, we're talking about Campground Murders. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine-chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everybody. My name is Elise, and you're listening to Morbid Outdoors. Now, it's been a while, a very long while, since I have recorded. Everything for the past month was pre-recorded because I had people in town visiting me, and I was being a tour guide. So, if you all have been listening for the past month, you know that I recently had my mom and her friend out here to Utah. We spent a few days in Moab. We did Arches National Park. We did Canyonlands National Park. We did Dead Horse Point State Park and kind of everything in between. I did take them out into the Uintas to experience that because so often I think people visit Utah just for the southern part of it, for the Mighty Five. And while those are beautiful and so pretty, they miss northern Utah, which is also beautiful and so pretty. And I actually like northern Utah more than I like southern Utah because I love trees, I love lakes, I enjoy mountains, and that's all of northern Utah. So it was a good visit. It was just really interesting to see how other people travel and prefer to travel, whereas I travel very specifically and intentionally, and I'm very organized. It was interesting. So I just realized that my poor husband has to be on road trips with a type A, high-strung, very anxious person, which is myself. And I'm like, I feel so sorry for him because it's not until sometimes at inopportune moments that you realize that that is what you do when you travel. And another thing I want to say is, guys, use the internet, plan your trip out. So much bad happens and people have bad experiences because they don't just do a simple Google search. And they end up not enjoying their vacation because of just, I don't know, inattention to detail, I guess. But one fun part of the trip that I was able to torture both my mom and her friend on is I had them captive audience, and we were having dinner in Moab, and I very joyfully read the incident reports from Arches because while we were there, we got up super early in the morning, did our hiking and sightseeing, and we were back at our cabin by like 11 a.m. And I went to the pool and I met this guy in the pool, and he was talking about how he had done the Devil's Garden loop, and it's like 8 miles. And we didn't do that one because my mom and her friend aren't really hikers. I would love to do that, although I'm scared of heights, so I'm not sure how that would work out. But this guy in the pool said that he had just gotten back from Arches, and when he was exiting the trailhead, there were 2 EMTs, police, park rangers, search and rescue, like with lights on. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm waiting to read it on the incident report when it gets published. But basically, I suspect that someone had a really nasty fall or became very dehydrated while on that hike. So always remember when you're recreating in the desert or high elevation areas, you need to drink water. And you don't just need to drink water, you need to drink electrolytes and salt. So just reminding everybody. Um, I have been so busy this summer. It's so excited. I took my friend Ashley out to the Uintas. We did some hiking. I told her that there was a really easy trail. She didn't think it was that easy. So I know she was cussing me in her head as we're 1 mile left from the car, but it was beautiful. I think I'm going backpacking this weekend or this week. And so, yeah, when you listen to this, I might actually be out in the backcountry enjoying a solo backpacking trip. So I hope you guys are having a great summer. Tomorrow, my husband and I are going to go see the new Jurassic World movie. We heard it's really good, and so that is super exciting. I've been kind of rearranging travel plans for the rest of the year and fine-tuning some itineraries because we have a few very short local-ish trips coming up. So I actually just got back from Arkansas yesterday. Well, this morning at 12 something because my flight was delayed. And I think I told you I went to Arkansas for like 5 days to visit family, celebrate my best friend's birthday, and just kind of bebop around town. I love my home state of Arkansas. It was so freaking humid. I thought I was going to die. I think my body has gotten used to the Western weather patterns and elevation and no humidity, but I swear it was like 87 degrees outside and it was 80% humidity. It's like 80% humidity all the time. And I'm talking like I've never experienced that before. I lived there for 24 years. So I don't know how I forgot that it was like that, but my God, it was hot, like stifling hot. But I enjoyed my time and I'm looking forward to going back next year and seeing family and doing some more outdoors activities. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate all your support. Just a reminder, I do have a Patreon. I'm not 100% consistent with posting on there, but any support goes a long way. And if you don't want to support financially or via Patreon, leaving a 5-star review is a great way to support me in this little passion project that I am doing. As a reminder, don't feel bad if you're not doing as much as I am this summer. I have the summers off because I work in the public schools. I'm a pediatric speech language pathologist. And so I'm enjoying my summer and trying to squeeze every ounce of relaxation I can out of it before school starts back in August. Anyways, while I'm talking about going out to do a solo backpacking trip, let's talk about USA Campground Murders. First of all, I love camping. I've camped in groups, like pairs and solo, actually. I was kind of freaked out. Well, I say when I camp alone, I have my dog with me, so I'm not totally alone. But I do quite a bit of camping. I did a lot more when I was in college, and then shortly after I graduated. But now I don't do as much camping, but I want to change that because it's so fun. But one thing for me is my husband has cerebral palsy, and so it hurts his back to sleep on the ground. So we've got to, I don't know, figure out a way that he can come camping with me while it's enjoyable. And I know they have those cots, but I don't know. I just don't want to buy one because they're expensive and then him not enjoy it. So if you camp or someone you know camps and they use a cot or like a camp bed, Let me know what brand, because I would love to know so that I can drag my husband out there in a tent with me. Because we went camping in Taos, New Mexico, I don't know, 4 years ago or so, and his back was not happy the next morning. So shoot me those camp bed recommendations. If you have any, that'd be awesome. Now, this is a new-esque topic episode. And what sparked this is that recently there was a double homicide in Arizona. It happened over Memorial Day weekend. And basically what happened is two Phoenix teens were shot while camping off of the Beeline Highway, which is State Route 87. Now, this is reminiscent of a case that happened in Idaho last year. This man was found dead in his tent, and initially everyone thought it was a bear attack because it was so grisly. There was so much blood, and it looked like an animal attack. But this man had actually been axed to death inside of his tent. And I actually covered this on my Patreon. So if you want to hear my take on that incident, it is over on Patreon. So seeing the news about these teens that were murdered while on a camping trip, it got me thinking, just how common are people murdered while camping? It's actually more common than you might think. A review of such high-profile killings over decades shows they are often cases that are difficult to crack because they produce few witnesses and very little physical evidence. Some of these lack motive, with victims usually chosen at random, and perpetrators leave no evidence of theft or sexual assault. That means that these campground murders, these crimes, they can go years or even forever unsolved and unprosecuted. So today we're walking into the shadows of American campgrounds, where the fresh air turns cold, the trail grows quiet, and some campers don't make it home. From unsolved tent-side slayings to chilling backwoods disappearances, we are talking about campground murders, cases that span decades and remain as eerie today as the nights they happened. Something I found that was interesting is that the U.S. Forest Service has an entire page about this on their website. And according to them, they basically are warning people and saying that you might need to bring protection if you're camping. This is what's on their website. With an outdoor adventures comes a sense of responsibility, especially when it comes to your safety. Please remember you are responsible for the safety of yourself and for those around you. The U.S. Forest Service has long warned about the dangers that lurk in our wildlands that have nothing to do with nature and the elements. They go on to say, although most people are there to enjoy the outdoors just like you, some are not. In the outdoors, most of us relax and leave our worries at home, which is true, most of us do. But unfortunately, criminals may use this against you. Learn to protect yourself. And that is coming straight from the U.S. Forest Service. So this must happen very often for them to basically warn the public. Fortunately, there is one good development in these types of killings. Now, while these might be harder to solve because of lack of evidence, lack of motive, and basically, usually these places are pretty remote. Some campsite murders, like other cold cases in America, they're beginning to crack open with the evolving science and investigative techniques such as DNA testing and genetic mapping. Now, the Forest Service does provide a good deal of guidance on how to stay safe when you head out into the wilderness to camp or hike. And here are some of the tips they give. They say to always be aware of your surroundings and take precaution whenever you go. They also say to be alert to other people in the area. Trust your instincts. So if you feel uncomfortable in a place or situation, leave right away and get help if necessary. They also say to stand tall and walk confidently and not show fear. They also remind people to be observant of others and use discretion in acknowledging strangers. Avoid confrontations, but be respectful of your fellow outdoor enthusiasts. Always use good manners when interacting with others. They also say to, of course, this is given, but to carry a cell phone and check if there is coverage in the area. They also want you to know how to contact local law enforcement and how to get medical attention in an emergency. They recommend carrying a whistle or a noisemaker or other protective device. They tell people not to pick up hitchhikers and to never go anywhere alone. They say it's better to go in pairs or a group. Now, while I agree with most of these things, I think some of these things are a little outdated because even if you're in pairs or a group, you could still be a victim of a crime. Like I just said, these two teens in Arizona were shot to death and they were traveling together. So these are really good tips, especially about being observant of others in your area and trusting your instincts. I talk about that a lot. And there's actually a book. One second, I'm going to look at my phone. There's a book that is a really good read, and you might like it actually. But basically, it's all about instincts and how they keep you safe. And this book is called, one second, can't find it. Okay, I found it. Took me a minute. It's called The Gift of Fear: Survival Signals That Protect Us from Violence by Gavin DeBecker. I highly recommend the read. It is amazing stuff. And that information, it could save your life one day. So highly recommend it. But yeah, basically your gut instinct is usually telling you something before your brain has a chance to process the stimuli in your current environment. And so I always listen to my gut because I've learned that's the safest thing to do. And at the very least, like the old adage, like better to be safe than sorry, right? So when you're out camping or hiking alone, it's not just Mother Nature that you have to worry about, it's other people. And I carry when I'm alone, and it's not for animals, it's for people that walk on two legs. It's for our bipedal friends. So you don't always have to carry something like I do if you want to feel protected. Bear spray is great because it can take down a human as well, but just keep your head on a swivel, especially if you're camping in a remote area by yourself or in a small group. So grab your flashlight, get close to the fire, and don't wander off into the trees. Because today we're exploring what happens when the wild turns deadly and the campground becomes the crime scene. We're starting in 1974 in Oregon. A couple in their 20s with a 5-year-old and a 5-month-old, they disappeared while camping in the Siskiyou Mountains near the Oregon-California border. Now, this is a very famous case. You've probably heard of it. It is the Cowden family. 7 months later, their bodies are discovered about 7 miles from their campsite. And what's weird about this is that most reporting says their bodies were found in an area that had already been searched. The family members had been shot or bludgeoned to death. Law enforcement determines a suspect in the case. They think it was an ex-con believed to have been in the area during the time of the murders, but he was never charged, and this case still remains unsolved. I think everyone suspects it was this guy, but there's no definitive proof and no known motive either. Fast forward, Wisconsin, 1976. A Green Bay couple in their 20s who were engaged to be married, they were shot dead at the McClintock Campground in Silver Cliff, Wisconsin. The gunman shot the man as he was putting up the tent. Then he sexually assaulted the woman and shot her. DNA evidence is recovered, but no arrests are made. Then, in 2018, using genetic genealogy, investigators trace the DNA evidence to a specific family, which leads to a suspect. Police trick the suspect into licking an envelope and thus providing a sample of his DNA. That leads to a direct match and later conviction in the murders. In 2022, some 45 years after the murders, the accused is convicted and punished with 2 consecutive life terms, according to the Green Bay Press-Gazette. Now, I'm not trying to be a paranoid weirdo, but never leave your DNA around. And I'm not saying that because I'm like, I want to commit crimes. I'm saying that because you really don't know who's gonna ever have your DNA. Oh, and all of these, this is not like an exhaustive list of campground murders. These are just the ones I could find that had been recorded on the internet. And if you like the outdoors and all things spooky, you have probably heard about the Klein Falls Axe attack. Now, this happened in June 1997 outside of Bend-ish area, Oregon. The Klein Falls Axe attack refers to an unsolved attempted homicide that occurred on the evening of June 22nd, 1977. Well, maybe I got the dates wrong. Hold on. It is, in fact, 1977, not 1997. Thank you, fat fingers. So this happened at Klein Falls State Park in Deschutes County, Oregon. The victims were 2 female college students, Terry Jentz and her roommate, Avra Goldman. They were actually on a cross-country cycling ride along the Trans-America Trail. Both women decided to spend the night along the Deschutes River at the park near Redmond, Oregon. During the night, they were woken by a vehicle that drove over their tent, injuring both of them. The driver of the vehicle exited his car and proceeded to attack both women with an axe. Both women survived the attack, suffering very significant injuries, but their attacker has never been positively identified. And that is absolutely horrifying. Someone drives over your tent and then takes out an axe and starts trying to kill you. That's awful. I don't know if it was National Park After Dark or Crime Junkie or Morbid. Ooh, someone did a really good episode on this a few years ago, so you could probably type that in your search bar, Klein Falls Axe attack. It is crazy that these 2 women survived that and were able to get help and medical treatment and recovered. I mean, probably not mentally, but as much as they could physically. The next case I'm going to tell you about isn't necessarily one that I would normally talk about, but this one happened in Montana in the summer of 1973, and it was the Yeager family from Farmington, Michigan. They actually had set off on a month-long road trip out west, and their daughter and the family, they were all camping at the Missouri Headwaters State Park near Three Forks, and an intruder cut open the tent and kidnapped the daughter named Susie in the middle of the night. Then, on September 17th, 1974, a bone from a female child was found at an unoccupied remote ranch a little bit northeast of Three Forks. The kidnapper turned out to be David Mehrhofer, who was arrested September 27th, 1974, by the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office. That one, I don't know if it really falls in this genre, but child abductions at campsites are, they just give me the creeps. I feel like they don't happen as often now as they did, but Laura Bradbury, this girl, and there's been a few in Utah. It's just heartbreaking. People just would snatch kids on a camping trip. I mean, snatching kids in general is terrible. But just like the U.S. Forest Service says, you think you're going to be out here relaxing, enjoying your time, and you're carefree, and your guard is probably down, and someone sees that and seizes that as an opportunity to commit harm against your child. It's terrible. And if you know anything about little kids camping and horrible things that have happened, you have probably heard about the 1977 Camp Scott, Oklahoma Girl Scout murders. So at Camp Scott near Locust Grove, there were about 100 Girl Scouts camping, and an intruder enters one of the tents at night, sexually assaults and murders 3 girls aged 8, 9, and 10. The children's bodies are found about 100 yards from their tent. They were strangled and mutilated, and it was such a shocking thing for the families to get that call the next morning. Evidence gathered at the scene turns into a 10-month manhunt that leads to the arrest of fugitive and convicted rapist Jean Leroy Hart. At trial, however, Hart was acquitted. So there are some really good episodes that go really into depth about that case. In 1986 in Virginia, 2 women aged 24 and 26, they were camping in Shenandoah National Park when an intruder tied them up and murdered them with a knife. For 28 years, the case was unsolved, and this one is also huge in the true crime community. Basically, investigators solved it, I think last year or the year before last, because they were able to extract DNA from items of evidence and match them to a convicted rapist who had died in prison in Ohio several years earlier. I'm so glad that those families finally have answers about who murdered their daughters. And that was definitely, well, I can't say definitely, but most likely a hate crime. Then in 2003 in Arizona, a couple, 19-year-old Lisa Guerrieri and 20-year-old Brandon Rumbaugh of Scottsdale, they were both camping off of Bumblebee Road in Yavapai County. And honestly, this one is also very popular in the true crime community. They were fatally shot multiple times. They were killed in the bed of a pickup truck where they had been sleeping. A disposable camera that they had purchased before arriving at the campground shows the last pictures of them alive. The case remains unsolved to this day. The Yavapai County Sheriff's Office began seeking new information from the public in 2023 to help with any information on this cold case. In California in 2004, a couple who was in their 20s, they were visiting California from the Midwest. They parked at a remote pull-off near a seaside cliff at Fish Head Beach near Jenner, which is in Sonoma County. This is 80 miles north of San Francisco. The area featured spectacular views of the ocean, and they were reported missing. And after they were reported missing, a park ranger found their vehicle and later their bodies in a sleeping bag below the cliff. The man and the woman had both been shot in the head. There was no evidence of theft or sexual assault. The case went unsolved for 13 years until there was a suspect. His name was Sean Gallen, and he was accused of shooting and killing his brother. Sean, who has been described as an eccentric and survivalist with guns, he actually confessed to the beach killings. So this one was a cold case for almost 15 years. And I just think it's so crazy that these can go into cold cases the day after they happen, because when you can't determine motive, like theft, sexual assault, robbery, whatever, it seems like people just kill others while they're camping just because they can. This next one that I found I had never heard of before, but it's very interesting and very horrifying. This happened in 2005 in Oregon. Stephen Hagen and his partner, Jeanette Bauman, they were teachers in a small mountain community of Oak Ridge, Oregon. They went camping in the nearby woods on July 1st, 2005. They and their dog were shot dead as they slept, apparently at long range and then again at short range. Items taken from their camp included a gun, custom fishing rods, and their car's license plates. Law enforcement speculation is that the killer or killers were not known to them. The items taken may have been trophies, and this may have been the work of what the FBI calls a super hunter. Slater says, according to the FBI, a super hunter is someone who moves into a national forest and calls it their own. The FBI has said that they are territorial and can kill. They sometimes take only a few items of the deceased as a token. Then in Texas in 2015, 6 campers, which were 2 brothers, Nathan and Austin Camp, their father Thomas Camp, and his girlfriend Hannah Johnson, her 6-year-old son Cade, and her parents Carl and Cynthia Johnson. Now, all of these people were basically killed while they were camping. Cynthia was the only survivor. So as the group camped overnight, an assailant entered the site and opened fire, killing 6 family members. They do know who it was. His name was William Hudson. He was 35 years old. He was identified, tried, and convicted on 3 counts of capital murder. He was sentenced to death in November 2017. Then in 2018 in California, campers at Malibu Creek State Park near Calabasas, they awoke to the sound of gunfire, and they found 35-year-old husband and father fatally shot. His young children were crying after the attack. According to the New Yorker, other people came forward to say that someone had shot at them in earlier incidents in the region that they reported to park rangers and local sheriff's deputies. So investigators thought that the killing of this 35-year-old father was random, but after investigating, they began to suspect a convicted felon was responsible for this. In 2023, a jury found Anthony Rauda guilty. A judge sentenced him to 109 years to life in prison and told him, "I've seen many, many dangerous people, from gangsters up to domestic terrorists. I've seen everybody, and I can say that, Mr. Rauda, you ranked amongst the top." The next campground murder we're going to talk about happened right here where I'm at in Utah. This one became famous because of the Gabby Petito case. I did not include Gabby Petito's murder on here because we don't really know that much about it, but she was probably most definitely murdered at a campsite. And she has gotten a lot of publicity for good reason, but also a lot of these I bet you hadn't heard about. Now, this one happened in Moab, Utah. Kylen Schulte, 24, and Crystal Turner, 38, they were newlyweds and outdoor enthusiasts, and they were camping in the La Salle Mountains near Moab. They were last seen on the night of August 13th, 2021, when they were spotted leaving Woody's Tavern in Moab. They texted friends about a creepy guy near their campsite, and they moved. They said, "Oh, this is creepy. This is weirding me out." So they moved. 5 days later, on August 18th, their bodies were found in a creek, undressed from the waist down and with multiple gunshot wounds to the back, sides, and chest. A friend of Kylen's father located their partially undressed bodies and the rabbit that they had brought camping. It was a pet. So this, people were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't even remember, Brian something, whatever the freak his name was, piece of shit." They were like, he killed them because they saw something. No, they actually know who did it. They arrested that guy. He's been charged and convicted, and he is now serving jail time. Then in Iowa, 2022, A 9-year-old boy ran into campers at the Moqueta Cave State Park, I hope I'm saying that right, after a gunman shot and killed his parents. And he also shot and strangled his 6-year-old sister. Soon after, the gunman, 23-year-old Anthony Orlando Sherwin, he shot and killed himself. He had no criminal record, and he appears that he chose his victims at random. Basically, he just decided to try and kill this entire family while they were camping at a state park in Iowa. And that is so scary. Anthony had been camping in the area with his parents, and his parents said that they don't think he would do that, but he definitely did. So I don't know what to say about that. Now, back to the one that I was talking about earlier. This happened in Montana in 2024, and basically another 35-year-old man, an outdoor enthusiast, he was found dead with brutal injuries near Moose Creek in the national forest. At first, authorities believed that he had been attacked by a bear, but DNA evidence led to the arrest of Darren Abbey on charges of deliberate homicide and tampering with evidence. He pled not guilty, but I have a feeling he will be convicted of murder. And the most recent one in May 2025, 2 Arizona teenagers, 18-year-old Pandora Jolesred and 17-year-old Evan Clark, both students at Arcadia High School in Phoenix. On May 27th, their bodies were found fatally shot in a remote section of the Tonto National Forest near Mount Ord, about 60 miles northeast of Phoenix. The incident is being treated as a double homicide. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has urged anyone present in the area during Memorial Day weekend to come forward, and they assure anonymity. I honestly can't believe I'm recording this before going to backpack solo in the backcountry. This is my life, but I enjoy it. I think reading about this stuff helps me to be more aware and stay safer because it's a healthy, I don't know if it's healthy, but it's a reminder that shit happens outside and it's not always nature. And you have to arm yourself and you have to protect yourself. So the next time you pitch a tent under the stars, just remember, silence can be peaceful, but it can also mean no one's around to hear you scream. Campgrounds are supposed to be escapes, places to disconnect, breathe deep, and fall asleep under the stars. But sometimes, even in the quietest corners of the wilderness, darkness finds its way in. From the shocking violence in Texas to the eerie tragedy in Utah, and now the recent heartbreak in Arizona, it's clear these crimes don't just haunt the woods. They stay with us. They raise questions. Who do we trust when we're miles from help? What warning signs do we ignore in the name of adventure? And maybe the scariest part, most of these people were doing exactly what we love to do, just trying to enjoy the outdoors. So as we pack up this episode and douse the fire, remember, the wilderness is beautiful, but it's also wild. Always tell someone where you're going, stay aware, and trust your gut, especially when the forest gets quiet. Thanks for hiking into the shadows with me. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep your tent zipped. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, A quick review helps us know what you love about the show. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.